Hello, and welcome to another episode from the desk of a Navy wife, where you may or may not hear my kiddos in the background. My name is Raina Worthy, and on this podcast, we like to dive deep into the unique challenges, triumphs, and experiences that come with being a military spouse. So kick back, relax, make that cup of coffee, or get that evening dinner ready, and just listen to me in the background. Hi, everyone. Today I am joined by the founder and co-host of Ruck Up Buttercup podcast, as well as the founder and executive director of Deployed Love. Ashley and Sabrina, thank you so much for being with me today and joining me to talk about your entrepreneurship journey and sharing your story with our listeners. I'm going to turn it over to you first, Ashley. I would love for you to share with everyone a little bit about yourself as well as your journey.
Yeah, thanks for having me. My name's Ashley Brown. I am the executive director for Deployed Love and the co-host for Ruck Up Buttercup. I have been a military spouse for 15 years and a military dependent for over 36. I'm a mom of two. I also work full time for our family business that my parents started after they got out of the military. And I'm, just living life the best that I can. And I'm a book lover. So if you ever want to talk books with me, y'all, come find me. And a huge thank you to Sabrina for bringing me into Deployed Love. She is an amazing person. I'll let her introduce herself.
Thanks for having us today, Raina. I'm Sabrina Johannes. I am the founder of Deployed Love and the co-host over at Ruck Up Buttercup. Um, I became a military spouse, I guess, in 2009, which is forever ago. And we are on the civilian side now, but we still do everything that a military spouse does on a daily basis, including 2-week PCSs. We have 2 kids and we homeschool. So luckily that has been easier on us because we do move frequently. We're able to kind of keep our lives on some sort of schedule. I don't know. But military advocacy is like my jam.
Yes, thank you so much again for joining me today. I do want to speak to both of you on what inspired you to start Deployed Love as well as Ruck Up Buttercup, and what gap did you see in the military spouse community that led you there?
Yeah, so Deployed Love actually started out as just holiday minis. Like it was a bunch of photographers and it wasn't really an organization at the time, but we did the holiday photos that were free for our military community during Christmas time. But then I was like, nah, this needs to be more, right? There needs to be a community aspect because we had these events and the spouses would come out and they were only supposed to be there for their 15 minutes of photos and they'd hang out because they wanted that community. Their husband was deployed. They wanted to talk to other spouses and be around them. And that was kind of what's lacking, especially as our family groups have kind of changed into like soldier ran, military ran groups. It's not the same community. Where Deployed Love allows no rank, none of that. Like it doesn't really matter where you're at in your journey and just find other spouses who are going through the same thing, basically. And we just meet up and we are able to like spend time together with people who just get it.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And I love that you touched on that it's not specific around your rank, right? You're so much more than your spouse's rank. Really, shouldn't even been counting your rank into your lifestyle. So I'm so glad that you touched on that.
I was gonna say in the podcast was one of those like really like we should do this, and then we joked about it for a little while, and we were like, no, we should really do this because we were like, there's so many things out there. I mean, we talk about this if you go and listen to our podcast that there's so many resources out there that as a seasoned spouses didn't even know about, and we were like, how can we share this? How can we share the resources? How can we share these military spouse stories that should be heard? And so we were like, well, let's try it. And then that was 5 seasons ago. I feel like the podcast is our pet project, but it's one of our favorite things that we do because we just really do enjoy interviewing and sharing the beautiful organizations and stories that are out there. And it's such a great way to say you're not alone. Like there are other people going through the same things. There's other people out there looking for the same resources. There are people out there who are like, yeah, this is a need. Let's do it. And I look forward to our podcast every few weeks. We record and
we also just both like to talk.
We do love to talk. We both, and I think this was a really creative outlet for both of us to be able to do that without having to feel like we're stepping on toes for maybe like, right. Like we can take this into a little bit more of a structured, even though it's not structured for us. It's very chaotic at times. It could be super unhinged at times, but I think that's what we love about it so much is that we can just kind of vent and express what we've experienced, but then also bring in new perspective from other spouses as well.
I love that you put it as you get to vent a little bit, right? Talk, share our own perspective, share
Well,
it with other
we're military
like-minded.
spouses too. We're going through the
Yeah.
trenches with all of you as well. And, we might be at a different journey because of whatever the case may be, but I promise no matter whether you're an E1 spouse or
Yeah.
what
W
colonel
something,
spouse,
whatever.
type of things that we're going through, it's the same type of hardships, same type of heartache. And our goal really with the podcast is just to make sure everyone knows that they're not alone, and just a really safe space, and then also just a central location where you can find resources for something that you may be going through, because it blows our mind of how many it's out there and how much we're learning every month.
Yeah. I will attest to that. When I used to do the CAPS classes, so help service members when they were getting out of the military, there was a buttload of resources where I'm like, why are they just now finding out about this? And why don't military spouses know about any of this? So that is what really helped drive me as well with the Desk of a Navy Wife, and just sharing like resources and making those connections with other military spouses such as yourselves, where you're also sharing those resources and you have your own organization where you're giving back to military spouses that people don't know about, right? And so it's like, well, let me share. Let me share that this exists.
And we talk about the sharing is caring. Like any organization, like if you come across an organization, a podcast that you're like, oh, this was really good, like share
Yeah.
it with your friends, because like truly, I mean, we've been in Deployed Love has been an official nonprofit since 2019. And I mean, and we've been at Fort Bragg and Fort Benning and Carson almost the entire time. And there's still people like, oh, I didn't know that you guys existed here. And we're like, let me tell you about us. But at the same time, like the military community is very small when you think about it over the big scheme of things, but it's also very large. Like there's,
Yeah.
it comes down to that neighborly thing of, hey, did you hear about this? You should check it out. Or tagging, like when you see someone like, oh, I need like a community, or I need help finding a resource, like tagging us, tagging those resources that you really do enjoy, and making sure others know about it, because honestly, like that's the only way a lot of them are going to get out.
Yeah. And like for me personally, I'm not a gatekeeper. It's very much, listen, we're here together, we're collaborating. Because I think some people view it as, oh, it's like competition. It's like, no, it's not.
I hate that. I
This
hate
is
that
community
mentality.
building. I'm all about authenticity. How can I get you out there? How can we help these military spouses? And so I'm so happy that when I stumbled upon Deployed Love, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to learn more about this and be able to talk to the founders. And so I do have a follow-up question now. What are some of the biggest challenges you faced when you launched your organization, and how did you overcome those challenges?
It's just the learning curve. Like a nonprofit is not a business in the way that I have a business degree. And so like I was like, oh, I got this. It is not. There is so much paperwork. There is so much accounting. There is so much getting volunteers that you don't pay. Like it blows my mind though, like thinking about it over the last like 5 or 6 years, we've had 60 plus volunteers who loved my mission. Like it's just that thought of like the only reason that it exists and continues to exist is that the people have seen it and realized that it was a necessity and have joined. Because otherwise it would just be me trying really hard to make it happen. And thank goodness there's people who are willing to volunteer, because that's the biggest challenge, is finding volunteers. It is free. We can't afford to pay you. We don't make money. I mean, there's some nonprofits in the sector that like are like USO, they
Yeah.
can pay, but they've been around for 60 years. Like we don't have that underneath of us. And that's probably the biggest challenge, is funding, I think, as a baby nonprofit, is we just don't have money. And the economy's not set up for people to give us money right now. That's just not where it is. So everything has to just kind of function in a free space. And that means volunteers, and that means just finding our community that cares enough to want to do it for free.
Yeah.
Well, speaking about volunteering, I do have a quick question for you, Sabrina. If there is someone a military spouse that is interested in volunteering, how can they go about volunteering for your organization?
If you see any of our social media, you see me
Just
honestly
follow us on
begging.
social media. Yeah, we are blasting it out right now because we desperately need volunteers right now. We are looking to build up the team. We're looking to expand. And what's really nice about our organization is that we can do a lot of it free, because we are here to build a community. We are here to build connection. It all comes down to like, we can't really do anything without volunteers. Everyone's like, these are great programs, but at the same time, we have to have the people to do the things.
Yes, and I'm glad that you said that because there was a post that I saw on your Instagram. I think it was for like regional director. And it's like, man, this would be a great experience for a spouse that really wants to get involved in learning more about being a director. And that's something that is a title that can still go on your resume. Yeah,
Yes,
you
I mean,
volunteered,
this
you
will be
have the
great.
experience. Yeah,
All of our staff jobs are virtual, so you do not have to be at one of our locations
mhm.
to do those. The only ones that are on site are coordinators. All the other ones are virtual. And so it is a great way to build your resume. A lot of it is a lot of just data entry and helping us find things that we don't have the time to find, like resources that we can go and interview and put on our website and stuff like that. So we reach out to us and be like, hey, these are my skills. Like, can you use me? And we'll find you a home.
And I'll be sure to put down your Instagram and all your other pages as well on the notes so that people can be able to check you out and go into that volunteering so they can gain that experience. I'm now going to ask you a question about how you balance being a military spouse with the demands of entrepreneurship and leadership.
I wish you guys could see my face right now. Uh, Sometimes it's in survival mode. Sometimes we have to give ourselves a lot of grace. There are times where we get behind on things, but a lot of it for me is that this is something I truly love to do. And so I do make it a priority and an effort to put into it. Sometimes military life and work life take the front seat, and sometimes this has to go in the back seat. But I think that we have like a strong founding network that, like, if I can't do something, Sabrina can do it, and vice versa. We are kind of in a transitional period right now. I feel like Sabrina, thank goodness she came back on board. She took a little hiatus from us,
Mhm.
and things have been running a lot smoother since she came back on the team. And I think a lot of that has to do with just we're all in different seasons. We all give each other grace, and have that open communication of like, how can I help, or this isn't happening, so what can we do? But like we are all volunteers as well. We all put our energy and time and a lot of our own personal money into the organization. So we just, take it as it comes.
So, can you share a moment when you felt your organization truly made an impact in a military spouse's life?
Oh, there's so
Yeah,
many of those
there's so
stories, and I
many.
think it definitely just comes
Yeah,
down to those holiday mini sessions,
Yeah.
where you see the mom get out of the car with her three kids. There's not a dad there, because there's not
right.
that extra help, and they come over and they're exhausted. You can just see it in their face. They've had to get all
Yeah.
their kids ready, and I'm able to just walk across the table and be like, here, you need a hug. Let me take your
Yeah.
kids. Here's where the session is. We'll go with you because I can see that you need the help. And just that connection of immediate connection of like this person understands what I'm going through, has dealt with what I've gone through and
Mhm.
cares. And even if we can take that load for like a couple minutes while you're getting your photo session done, that has always been like those holiday minis. There's tears every
That's
single
what keeps us all coming back are the holiday minis. It's those little quick messages, like, because we kind of always say, like, if we just make one family have a different experience, a bit of joy, a bit of happiness in one of our events, then we did our job. So we're really happy that we can bring that love and joy to other families. But we'll get messages about like, had such a good time. My kids loved it. Thank you for so much for getting me out of the house. And I mean, I think we cry. I know Sabrina and I both cry at every holiday mini. Um, we get
Me too. Yeah.
emotional, we get to connect, and like you said, we all know, we've all been through that, so we know what it was like to go through that. And even if you have a community, it still can be really lonely when you're at home by yourself with your
Mhm.
kids, or even just by yourself if you don't have kids and you're still a military spouse. There's so much that goes into it that we do get. I love when we get to kind of connect with them like hands on, which is why Sabrina and I are really hands on in the organization. We are at the holiday minis, we are at the Purple Up events and any of the other events that we have, and we were hosting a lot of them ourselves because that is what we saw is needed, and that's something we also needed as military spouses.
Mhm. It sounds like you truly see us, right? You see us. You walk over there and
We
you
are
hug
you.
that person. Right. You go and you hug them and it's like that sigh of relief. Like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. It's been a day just to
Yeah.
get here.
Like getting everyone all dolled out for photos and having a chat. I mean, I know my kids are like, my son would be like, yeah, I want to go take pictures and all this other kind of stuff. And you just were like, just, we're going to go do it so we can get the photos and send them to daddy.
Yes.
And they don't, a lot of them don't expect, like, we do more than the photos now. So like Sabrina said, like there was more. Sabrina had mentioned like a lot of people were hanging out and staying. So a lot of our bases will do something different. Like Bragg specifically does Santa and Mrs. Claus every year. And we have, last year we had a hot chocolate bar and cookies and cake pops donated. And then we had a little craft project. And then we had a station where you can write Santa or write a note home, or write a note to your service member. And we had people just hanging out. They take their photos and they would come over and hang out for 45 minutes to an hour. And it was so great to just get to know them a little bit more and kind of learn if they needed anything extra. A lot of times they just needed listening ear, someone who just was there to say, hey, like, it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel
Yeah.
angry that your service member is going to be gone near the holiday season.
Yeah.
And that's why we have the holiday meetings, because we wanted them to have that little extra love.
Yay. And I wish I could be there in person. So I'm going to ask a question now for those that it's more of virtual. Maybe we're not located at those installations. So what's next for your brand? And are there any projects or expansions in the works that you're excited about?
So we've kind of been working on, if you come to follow the page, you'll see we have pen pals. So
Mhm.
that's kind of our way for other military spouses. And it's actually, I've noticed that a lot of them are like guard or reserves that are joining the pen pal program because they don't have that community directly
Mm.
usually. So they're able to join each month. And sometimes we do packages depending on if it's a holiday, sometimes we just do letters, but to have that connection with somebody who doesn't have to be in your location but has gone through the same things. And the pen pal program has actually, it was kind of on a whim and has at least 12 people, I feel like almost every single time, where there's people that are just interested in connecting with another spouse. So that's currently our virtual program that we got going on.
Yeah, we are trying to build back up our online community. We do have a Hearts Connected group on
Mhm.
Facebook where you can go in and ask questions, get community, things like that. And we had done a lot of virtual events in the 2020, 2021 timeframe. We kind of paused it. I think we would like to get that back up and running if we can find someone who is willing to take on that role. And then I think really right now we are just really focused on the foundation of the organization and trying to just build it back up. The unfortunate part of being military spouse organization is we do have a lot of comings and goings of volunteers because they're all going through different seasons of life. So we are looking at, like, in terms of when we are expanding to different bases, you most likely will be kind of just a holiday mini as a pop-up event. There may be one or two socials, but it may not be the same. But that's what's great about our organization is every base is different. Every
Mhm.
installation is. You kind of leave it up to our coordinators to kind of determine what they feel is the need outside of our cornerstone events of what they
Mhm.
want. Whether that is a play date group once a week or once a month, a coffee meetup, girls night out only, just connecting group resources and providing extra support for those resources that are there locally. Everyone's different. And I think that's, what's really great is because there may be a plethora of play groups at an installation, but they feel like there isn't anything for just a spouse. And
Yeah.
so give that kind of freedom to our coordinators. Like we encourage our coordinators to do something that they enjoy doing. That's where we really do give the reins to our volunteers to do what they feel that installation needs outside of
Mm.
our two events that we require our volunteers to do.
So listeners, if you are tuned in right now, that is a great example of you being able to manage a project in some sense. So if that's
Mhm.
something you're thinking about, I do know there's many spouses that talk about project management or working on some type of a program. That would really help them in getting that experience in that field.
We'll write
Yeah.
you letters.
Oh yeah.
We have
Yeah.
done it. We will write letter recommendations with every key quality that you did it towards the job that you're trying to do because that is what we want to be for our volunteers more than anything. That's why we don't care when there's turnaround is we want to be a stepping stone.
Mhm.
I'm not expecting you to commit to Deploy Love like me and Ashley did, where you're going to
Yeah.
be here for your life. We want you to be helpful while you can and while that's the season that you're in. But then if you move on to a job and that you need these experience points or you needed a training, how can we provide that for you? How can we give you a reference letter? How can we help you move on and go be better in your life?
Military life is chaotic. We're experiencing that we're doing something that is changing not only the lives of the people who we are targeting, like our guests that are coming to the events, but also the kids behind the scene and the other volunteers. Like they see how much work Sabrina and I and Ashley and the other staff members and the coordinators have put into Deployed Love because
Mhm.
it is really remarkable to see how much love and dedication all of our volunteers put into this organization.
Yes, and sounds like a big sense of a community storytelling. And that's, I'm going to shift gears now to talk about the podcast some more and your podcast. So what motivated you to start that podcast specifically for the military spouses, and what makes your show so unique in that space?
The motivation was just we wanted
Really,
to.
like we looked at each other.
We just wanted to have something else
We're
for
going to do it.
ourselves.
It was. It genuinely was like we looked at each other and we are like, we should do this. Let's do it. And that was pretty much what it was. And then we went in. I think we initially went in very structured with a script and we're like, we can't do a script. This is not us. We are too like we're both near a spicy individual. So we both were just like, we can't stick to a script. We need like thoughts. And we're like, oh, we have to say something. So
I feel like you can always tell when we do scripts. There's been a few episodes or ads, and it doesn't sound like us. It sounds so.
It doesn't sound like a genuine flow going on.
We're trying to like stay on cue, and it doesn't work for us.
I mean, and we do this. I mean, like most of the podcasts, other than maybe like the very first part of the first season, it's been virtually. Like Sabrina in Germany, I've been in North Carolina, vice versa. But I felt like we decided that we wanted it to be more organic and more girl chatty-esque because we didn't want it to feel formal. We wanted it to feel like we were just talking and that person was in the room and they could input things if they wanted to. And you know, as military spouses who have been spouses for 15 years in the military community, we just felt that there wasn't this stuff when I was a young military spouse. There wasn't.
Right. I don't think there was 11 years ago.
No, there wasn't a location or anything where I could be like, okay, let's go get this. And I think we were looking into resources for something and we're like, we haven't even heard about this. Like this needs to be shared. And so that's kind of where we started bringing in the guests for, you know, our resource spotlight type of things. Like, so we would do a girl chat where we were just talking about a military topic, just a team. And then our next episode would be someone that we would bring in from a resource or a military spouse that had a unique story that they're sharing, and weighing in our opinions. But it can be very chaotic, but I think I love that because military life is chaotic and sometimes you just need a good laugh, even if it's at my expense, because I know I am a fumbler when it comes to I'll be like, my brain's going one speed and my mouth is going another. There's times where I'm like, that probably made absolutely no sense to anybody, but I think it's been a really great way for me and Sabrina also just to express what we're feeling in the moment, what we're going through. Because I mean, if you've listened over the last 5 seasons, you've heard about, I'm like, I don't even know how many moves have we gone through. We've gone through so many moves in 5 years.
And just and just in the 5 years alone.
We've talked about the rapid activations because my husband was a part of all of them. We've talked about experiencing COVID and things like that, and the kids schooling. Like we put our real lives into it, but I think the main goal is just to make sure everyone feels that they're not alone in this journey. And maybe you can feel better about your life hearing how chaotic ours is.
Yeah. And I think what's kind of fun about it is we do have 2 other co-hosts that are kind of on and off throughout the show that you'll hear, but they actually were guests first and they loved hanging out with us to the point where they're like, hey, how can we get more involved? So Laura is on all of our girl chats. So you hear her and she's a Gold Star wife and she has been through some things that we've never been through. So active duty. And then we have Kayla, who does advocacy and does a lot of like therapy, counseling stuff. So she has a different perspective also. So she comes on to some of our resources that work with what she does. And that's kind of cool too. Like we've expanded in that sense, but it's not all the time. Obviously it's mostly almost me and Ashley, but like these people who have different stories are able to come in and also fill the gaps that Ashley and I don't have. Ashley and I's stories are very similar. So like there's a lot of time where it's like, oh, well, that sounds like the same thing over and over. So we bring them in and we're like, hey, we're talking to this veteran resource. Can you come talk because you make more sense in this podcast? So that's kind of been cool too, is to have a little bit of a backup team that you guys don't see all the time, but they do come in when it makes the most sense for our podcast.
Well, thank you for sharing the process and what it looks like behind the scenes, right? Making sure that it's authentic and genuine. And it sounds like you reach out to guests, whether it's something that you already are going through or something you're, hey, I think we should share this resource or knowledge, and gaining an expert in your podcast overall. My question now is, what's been one of the most powerful or surprising stories shared on your podcast so far?
Gosh, we've had
That's
so
like,
many
oh,
people.
I have no
I
idea.
don't know.
You're like, give me top five.
I mean, I feel like anyone where I cry is a tough one. And if I get, I mean, I'm definitely probably the most emotional person on it because I am that type of person that has the feels.
Yeah, you're just passionate. That's all that
I
is.
there we go. I'm just
Yeah.
passionate. I don't know. I feel like every single one has a special place in my heart because I feel like, the resources I personally feel are so important to share just as a military spouse, as a military family who grew up military and is a who is still active duty and has the kids. Like I do feel like those are so important to share and I really hope
Mhm.
that guests will go and listen to them. I think the Fort Fisher one was a pretty good one.
I do think Laura's was really
Yeah.
like something is a perspective, I guess, because as a Gold Star wife and mom, and like we just
Mhm.
that's not a perspective that we talk about in a military
Yeah.
community. I think it's something that like it happens and we
I think
just want to avoid that conversation and we
Right,
don't want to know
right.
how that affects people. And she was so open with us, like, and how
yeah, I
like
think those
that
vulnerable
really
places.
has changed her life. Yeah. And like that it is a huge thing and it is foreshadowed. There's not a lot of resources for them. There's not a lot of like understanding from military spouses because it's like they assume, hey, you're just not part of the community anymore, right? Like you're
Right.
not. And they are. There's they get to be basically part of the community for the rest of their life because of it.
Right.
And they just kind of I you don't really know that. Like we learn so much about how that they're just kind of pushed to the side, and that's really super sad. I know that was one of the ones that we cried the most because it's
Yeah.
just that perspective that nobody talks about.
And I think that was one of the reasons why we feel like we should talk about them because we want people to be able to experience or know that they're again not alone.
Right.
Yeah, Laura's was a tough one.
Ah, well, yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to tune into the Gold Star one for sure because I feel like you see the signs at some installations on the parking lot where they can park there, but it's if someone's not accustomed to the military spouse community, they don't necessarily know what that even is or what
Yeah.
it's representing.
They're
And it's
kind
like,
of like a hidden figure that really like because they're not involved in the energy.
exactly.
They're not involved in the like things that we see as military spouses, but
Right.
they're there all the time and they're forced to like relive what they've had to deal with because they're still like on the military
Yeah.
institutions and stuff regularly.
Yeah, and I think that
Wow.
I think that's one of the really great things about having podcasts and like social media nowadays, except for like, TikTok. Like you will see a lot more who are talking about it. I think I follow like at least two Gold Star spouses who are advocating for those who have done the ultimate sacrifice. But that's very great because like one of the things is like we can help you connect to who you may need. I know people personally who are Gold Star spouses other than Laura. But like I'm never going to be able to connect to somebody on that level because I haven't experienced that. And so I feel like that's why we continuously have Gold Star spouse on our podcast. There's more than one episode Gold Star mom, but we try to bring different branches because like we both know Army. We don't know Navy, Air Force, Marine. So bringing in all the different branches to make it where it's just more of that community aspect, but no matter which area you are in.
Yes, I feel like overall podcasting, and I'm sure you feel the same, it has deepened that connection with military spouses and getting to know different military spouses' journey and sharing that with the community. It's something that I've noticed has become more in just with things like the USO or TAPS and they're now starting podcasts and they're starting to say, okay, let's
Yeah.
talk to let's
And
talk to this community, let's talk to that community.
I've
You
seen
know what?
so many podcasts starting recently, and I've heard,
Yeah,
and I was like, oh, we did it first, but like, no, we don't have that mentality. Like, kudos to
yeah,
you because like you're gonna be sharing your experience, and I feel like the more spouses who are sharing their experience, sharing their story, sharing
yes,
what they've come across for resources and stuff like that is just so important. And I think you sharing your favorite one and sharing and listening to multiple different ones. I mean, I know our podcasts are a little long. I think ours are typically about an hour long. Some
mhm,
podcasts may be about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and that may
yeah,
be fine. But if you're wanting to get more detailed and listen to actual people in the organizations, then our podcast might be the right fit. But
yeah,
again, it's the more the merrier. I feel like it's the more the
right,
merrier.
right. And it's definitely there's so many resources that this branch or this service may know about that more than this service. And it's like,
We learned this year's actually
yeah,
we actually re-interviewed some of our guests from the first season
yeah,
and things had already drastically changed in the program.
change.
They
Yes,
our offering. So we were like, oh, this was actually great. Like, we're really glad that we had you guys back on, because now you can tell us about all these other new resources that you guys are providing. And like, and we hadn't even realized that all these programs were in place now. And so I think that's really, it's just really important to follow up and listen to anything that is going to assist you in your life and on your military journey.
Yes. And then this is my final question. So it's for both of you. If a military spouse is out there thinking about launching a podcast or launching an organization, what are three things they should know before getting started?
Find somebody who can help you. I did have another executive director from another organization who sat down, and a lot of the reason that we exist is because she sent me what their paperwork looked like so I
Ah,
could bounce off of it. So find somebody who can help you. That
Yeah.
it's all open knowledge, so like let them help you. And then if you want to do podcasts, do it.
Yeah, just do
All
it.
you need is Zoom and
You
Audacity.
will never
Audacity is
anything.
free. The two
yeah.
programs, between the two, you could basically run a podcast because now YouTube allows you to run it all on there. Like, we
Hmm.
pay for a lot of other things that are expensive, but you don't have to. So just start a podcast. It's super fun.
And we've talked about doing a separate podcast for, because we both are book lovers. We've talked about that in the past, like, and it's really not that hard. It just do it. If that's just, and pick a topic. I mean, I definitely feel like you should have a like an idea of what you're wanting to portray during that, so that way, like, when people are looking, they can find you. Like, if it's military life, if it's work experience, if it's book or hobby related, like, find that area that you want to focus on and kind of stick to that. There's been times where we've gone off on book talk, like talking about books on podcasts, and we're like, we have to rein that back in. Like, we have to
Yeah.
go back to the military, because that's what our podcast is about. But it's one of those, but that's like one of our like coping mechanisms, I feel like. So we
Yeah.
talk quite a bit. But yeah, do it. Like, it's so much fun, to be honest. Like, I feel like once again, like, this has been just a way for us to also like get something out of it. Like, we always get something out of it, whether it's just me and Sabrina talking during a girl chat, or if we're getting something out of the podcast, we're still getting something from it. And I think that's also just really important to have.
And as far as starting an organization, I would suggest, however, to do your research and make sure that there isn't something that already exists. Because in our case, it would be really, really nice to have someone who wants to do kind of what we do, join the team and step up and be as much involved as they
Yes.
wanted to be as they would in their own organization. It takes a lot of work off of your plate because you're not having to do all the paperwork to get founded. Um, and then we get help also. So, like, even if you wanted to incorporate your organization inside of our organization, nonprofits can pick up baby nonprofits and just become two little things inside of the same nonprofit thing as long as the mission's the same. I feel like that's something that a lot of people need to do more, is to
I
see if
agree.
they could find a way to incorporate in something that was already established versus starting something that may not last for a long time, because it is a lot
It
of
is a
work.
lot of work, y'all. It
Yeah.
is a lot of work. And I 100% agree with Sabrina on that one, because the more hands on deck you have, the more likely your nonprofit is going to survive. I mean, even for Deployed Love, I feel like we've had kind of ups and downs. There's been times where we're like, ooh, should we try to go with another nonprofit and continue to do the work and help them, or vice versa? And I do think that there are, I think I've seen people go there, I want to start like this, meetups and things like that. I'm like, well, hey, like, do it under our nonprofit, because then you have, you can you can get donations and things like that. And so I definitely agree with Sabrina on that you should do research and find it. Ask people, because you may not be able to find it. And so, that's another thing. Like, the internet is just full of data and stuff that sometimes you may not be able to find what you're looking for, but if someone in your network will probably know that there might be something similar out there. And then if there's not, then go for it. Like, if you feel like you cannot find the resource for what you're looking for, then go for it. But again, get that mentor, because I think that is so important, to have someone who's gone through the trenches before you, to make sure
Yes.
that they can give you all the information. And if you find someone
Yes.
who isn't willing to do that, then go find someone who is,
Yes.
because any nonprofit person that I've known that is truly out there to provide support is willing to talk. There's a very few that we've run across that will not help. And then at that point, you can make the determination of whether or not you want to support that organization. But there are so many people out there. There's so many military advocates out there and out there who are wanting to better. And so just connecting LinkedIn, I feel LinkedIn is so important. I'm so bad at it, but like connecting with people in like the same arena is really important as well.
Yes, it is. And I'm so glad you said get mentors. It's just utilize different networks such as LinkedIn and connect with those other organizations that may have already have some type of footing where you can be able to support one another because you're still working towards the same mission. So thank you for that. And thank you so much, Sabrina, as well, for joining me today and sharing your insight on the podcast world. And thank you both for what you do for the community with Deployed Love. Is there anything you all want to say before we close out this episode?
Thank you for letting us be on. I was going to say the biggest thing, though, that we always talk about to help a nonprofit or a podcast is sharing. Like, you don't have to volunteer, you don't have to give us your time, that's fine. But like, share to your people. We talked about this recently, is that we are so niche. Everything that we do is so niche to the military that it's hard to market it. It's hard to get it out to the right people. But
Right.
you are military, and if you share it to your military, they share it to their military. That is how we grow, and that is how we can help continue to advocate for our military spouses.
Absolutely. And I will be sure to, again, share all of the information and links in my notes. Thank you again. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Bye. Thank you all again for tuning in this week. I look forward to bringing you resources, support, and laughter. Sending my love from the desk of a Navy wife.